Hello, everyone. It is Friday, May the 8th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jen Carfagno.
And I'm Maria Larosa.
All right, lot going on today. We have severe weather again, and we've got a subtropical storm. In case you haven't heard, this one got a name. It's 170. You know, in days and days and days of this thing sitting offshore will take a toll on the coastline, and we'll talk about that as well.
Absolutely, but we're also concerned about the other impacts, which include some of the locally heavy rainfall, even in Myrtle Beach. So watch for that flash flooding ahead of a busy weekend, Mother's Day, but showers and thunderstorms not out of the question, Jen, through at least Sunday.
All right, so here's where we are right now. The winds are at 45 miles per hour. The movement is stationary. It has not moved here. It's described by the National Hurricane Center as meandering. I mean, it's really not moving much at all. And that's going to be a story for it right through the weekend. And that leads to a couple of things. Like we've been talking about, not really concerned about the beach erosion, but it is long-term effects on the surf zone. So again, max winds right now at 45 miles per hour. And you can see some of the areas impacted from Wrightsville Beach down to Charleston. But as we've been talking, those rip current risks all the way down to Florida. And we are concerned about that here, especially because it is the weekend, right? It's Mother's Day weekend. A lot of folks might be going to the beaches. So continuing to look at concerns out there. The winds are going to be up too. And, you know, it also warned boaters. Seas are going to be up, maybe up to about 15 plus feet tomorrow once you get offshore. So that's going to be another concern. Let's talk about the rainfall, Maria.
Locally heavy, as we've been talking about, but whenever you have a storm that's offshore and sending in occasional waves of heavy rain, the totals are going to be maybe from an inch or two to maybe locally a little bit more, because again, this is going to be today, tomorrow, even on into Sunday. And as we've been talking about the winds as well, one interesting facet that we'll dig deeper into over the next few days will be the drier air too that's been wrapping in behind it.
It's been a factor in it not really being anything more than subtropical at this point. And I will say, Brianna, my clicker is just not working at all. So if you can help us move along. We are looking again at the rain, and it's really going to be disruptive, I think, to some weekend plans. It's going to be the kind of activity that's on again and off again. And for those of you here from South Carolina up into North Carolina, we're going to be watching it all weekend long. We may see it make a landfall, but it may just stay very close to the coast until the end of the weekend.
And it's going to be tempting to head out on the water, too, so we want to give a heads up to boaters. And as we mentioned, too, that tropical storm watches are in effect for coastal Carolina down through coastal South Carolina as well. This would be enough of a story to cover, right? But we've also have the incredible severe weather story that we're also going to be following for the next few days. And that's starting with today, but it's been going on, Jen, all week. Take a look at the threat area.
All right, so today a large area in the red zone, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes, again, as a risk. And for today, the Torcons are at 4s. We got a 4 in central Oklahoma. We're going to be looking at a 4 again today into parts of Texas, but a 5 now in southwestern Oklahoma and northwestern Texas.
And then you have a 4 out of 10 for northern Texas. And, you know, sometimes you can get a little weary after day upon day of this severe threat. We want everyone to still stay on guard because the setup is still there. We've got this upper level disturbance. And if you've been watching the coverage, the spin that we've been tracking coming out of California is fierce. And that is really going to be the next phase as we get in through tomorrow, because Jen, you can see a lot of the triggers are still in place.
Yeah, the moist flow returning again today. We're going to be looking at that dry line to be one of the things that gets air rising and gets thunderstorms going. And you know, we've got a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. We talk about hail and damaging winds and tornadoes. The flooding threat has been very large lately and continues today. That showed you the available moisture, how much moisture is in the atmosphere. Again, in northern Texas, we've got concerns that we're going to get some flooding rain.
They've been pretty efficient at putting down a lot of rain because some of them have been pretty slow moving, but you take a look at the total rainfall, 3 to 5 inches over the next few days. And as we've seen with all these storms, Jen, easily there are going to be spots that are going to pick up more than that.
And you know, I took a look at some of these counties right here in northern Texas. The flash flood guidance shows that in a 3-hour window, if they get more than even an inch of rain, they're going to get flash flooding. And so you look at this forecast, some spots 5 to 8 inches of rain. Big concerns for flash flooding, and some of the flood watches go all the way until Sunday.
Yeah, so we don't want to underestimate that as part of the whole severe story, but we do have to talk about tomorrow because tomorrow's looking like a pretty big day, and a couple of things, obviously a very similar threat zone, but we want to talk to not just the tornado threat, Jen, but a difference is maybe long tracks. So these may be long-lived storms, long-lived tornadoes.
When you look at this long stretch of severe weather we're in, tomorrow is the day where really everything literally is coming together here. The atmosphere throwing everything at this. So 6s on our Torcons in Kansas and Oklahoma, a 5 again in northwestern Texas for tomorrow. And Sunday is going to be a very busy day as well. Still a tornado threat into Sunday.
Yeah, and this is Mother's Day. Think about where you're going to be, what time of day your plans are, and have a plan according to that, because in cities like Dallas, Springfield, Missouri, Des Moines, these are all areas that have to be heightened risk areas and have to be on alert.
All right, so we'll have more on this, of course, the severe weather threat for today and beyond into the weekend. And we've got the latest on subtropical storm Ana. Plus,
warnings, will be on the air straight through to get you through all of it. So let's kind of fine tune where we're at, where we're looking at for some of the higher risk areas for today. And once again, we find ourselves from Kansas through Oklahoma and into Texas today, especially a 4 out of 10 for central Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, more. You're in those areas. 4 in 10 chance within 50 miles of seeing a tornado. And you can see a 5 out of 10 for northern Texas, but still a 4 out of 10 as you get into northern central Texas. So what does that mean? It means it's lower on the scale, not 0, but it is still very much a risk. You could at the very least, see some strong thunderstorms with damaging hail too. Breaking down the timing, again, through the midday, the lunch hour, things are fine, but we do expect by the time the kids get off the bus stop, you're heading home from work, the showers and thunderstorms will be going. By overnight tonight, tomorrow morning, Jen, starts a whole nother round of severe weather.
Through the weekend. Still about 170 miles offshore. However, already we've been feeling the impacts right along coastal South Carolina.
Yeah, we know those winds have gusted 25, 35 miles per hour, pushing across that high surf and the rip currents. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, under a tropical storm watch through the weekend, and that's where we find our Mike Seidel. And Mike, in one of those pleasant breaks right now, you're seeing actually some sunshine on your face. Bringing you up to date on what we know. We now have that subtropical storm Ana, winds at 45 miles per hour, and no surprise, the official movement, not much of it, stationary, but you can still see it swirling off the southeast coast, occasionally bringing some bands of rainfall, maybe even a few thunderstorms, but we do expect a slow movement over the next few days and eventually perhaps crossing onto land as we get in towards the end of the weekend, never quite making it much stronger than tropical storm strength, but obviously the impacts will continue, the rip currents and the gusty winds along the coast, especially over the next few days, Jen.
Weather last night, and it continues today. Thanks for staying with us on Weather Center Live. I'm Jen Carfagno.
And I'm Maria Larosa. A lot to get to. Aside from the tropical rains there in Texas, we have the severe weather. That's possibility of hail and tornadoes.
Yeah,
and it's a good time to think about now what your plan is, if you haven't already, because we do think it's later in the day today, towards the evening, the overnight, that we'll start to see the biggest thunderstorms start to shape up.
And it's a continued threat. So this multi-day threat continues today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Oklahoma City, for us, we've got storms in the forecast starting today, big time tomorrow, and continuing on Sunday. A break comes after that, but we've really got 3 busy days to get through first.
And this is after several busy days as well. And so, it's sometimes exhausting to be on high alert for so long, but we ask you, continue what you're doing, have that plan, because it is going to be in through tonight and tomorrow. And when you talk about a lot of plans for Mother's Day, it does include Mother's Day. Sometimes people for the weekend kind of tune out a little bit. We don't want you to do that.
Graduation parties, etc. Brianna, I got to ask you again here. The clicker is not happy with me today, or I'm not happy with it. But to talk about the severe weather risk that we're dealing with here, we want to make sure you know everything that's coming together. And the red zone for today really encompasses a large area, all the way from Texas up into Oklahoma and Kansas. Similar areas that we've been watching for the past several days.
And we can't emphasize enough that, we're focusing on the tornado threat, obviously, but there's a lot of heavy rain, there's a lot of damaging winds, and also that large hail. A lot of that we saw yesterday, size of tennis balls, reported in some spots.
All right, so the Torcons for today, it's a number that goes from 0 to 10, assesses the tornado risk. 4 in Oklahoma down to southwestern Oklahoma. There's a 5 that includes up to the Texas Panhandle, and a 4 in much of central northern Texas.
All right, and again, it's today and through this evening. The problem is, as we head into the weekend, we're getting an added punch. We've been watching the spin out across California. That's going to swing on through, and it's working with already really, really deep moisture, so that's available. You're not shutting down any of the big triggers.
All right, so today we're going to be watching for, again, the dry line to be one of the triggers. This warm front will be another one of the triggers. We're looking for anything that will get air rising and get thunderstorms building tall up into the sky, and that's going to happen today. Will there be jet stream energy at play as well? Tomorrow, though, even more activity is going to develop, simply because everything is coming together. That big upper level low that you saw there in the west, that comes in, and that provides a lot of upper level support to strengthen the storms tomorrow.
And we're concerned here about tomorrow, not only the territory covered, but the individual storms themselves could be long track. We talk about long track being long distance that these storms survive and continue.
All right, so we've got big torcons out there, 6s in Kansas and Oklahoma, 5 for you in northwestern Texas. And already this week, Oklahoma City ravaged by tornadoes. Communities were flattened.
And our Dave Malkoff is in Bridge Creek, Oklahoma, with the latest on how people are coping with the damage. And Charleston to Wrightsville Beach, areas that could be under that tropical storm watch now for the next few hours.
All right, the last time we saw a subtropical storm this early was in 2012. So it's been a couple years since we've started the season so early. We've got meteorologist Mike Seidel, who is out there on the beach in Myrtle Beach. And Mike, you know, it is early, certainly. What's the earliest you have been out to cover a storm? So we are looking at a city like Oklahoma City, again under the gun for severe weather. After tornadoes 2 days ago, we've got that risk back again today. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, thunderstorms with possible tornadoes. Saturday is an especially strong day, but today is going to be busy too. We have our first tornado watch of the day already out. That's for parts of the panhandle of Texas. We're going to be watching the red zone for today to go all the way up into Kansas and back down into central and southern Texas. San Angelo, Dallas, you're in it. Oklahoma City, you are in it. A 4 in central Oklahoma. That is a torcon for today across this area. We're also looking at southwestern Oklahoma and northwestern Texas, a 5 there and a 4 in northern and central Texas on the torcon for today. All right, so that's the risk that we're looking at for today, but we continue to watch concerns for tomorrow. We're expecting an outbreak. Some of the same cities in the risk area, but these numbers are a little bit higher. Wichita Falls, another 5 for tomorrow. Oklahoma City, a 6, and Dodge City, Kansas, a 6 on the torcon. We will see storms with tornadoes. Some of those could likely be on the ground for a long time. They could be strong and violent tornadoes. So big concerns for you tomorrow. And then Sunday, which is Mother's Day, we've got a torcon of 5 in Dallas all day long, watching at that risk. Springfield, Missouri now into the mix. You've got a 3, and Des Moines, Iowa now into the mix, a 5 on the torcon on Sunday. So a very busy weekend ahead, and we're going to be looking for thunderstorms out there, of course, as our top story, but there's a lot going on. When you look at our weather map, we've got subtropical storm Ana, we've got our severe weather outbreak across the plains, we've got snow in the Rockies, and that snow is going to be adding up to more than a foot or 2 feet of snow for some, especially in the parts of Wyoming, up into South Dakota. And this thing right here, which brought a little bit of hail to Southern California this morning, that is going to be the energy that crosses over, gives us the snow, and also helps to bring out that severe weather across the plains. I mean, you look at the snowfall. It is May. It does happen in May, but still 1 to 2 feet of snow in places like Rapid City is definitely a big deal and will be very impactful. All right, for more on our other top story, let's talk more about what's happening in the tropics, Maria.
I feel like I have to say the same thing. You know, May, it happens, right? May snow happens, and May tropical systems, or in this case, subtropical systems, happen. It's not that often, but it can indeed do that. Let's take a look at some of the impacts, and we take you through Sunday. Yes, it's going to be that long that we're going to be dealing with Ana. Periods of rain, some of that may be heavy at times. Specifically, we're talking about Myrtle Beach, gusty winds, rough surf, and rip current. So we continue to talk about that. If you're taking a weekend away along the coast, we're not discouraging that. Just make sure you stay aware. A great tip if you are a visitor along the coast, get to know what county you're in. So if you see and you're watching us from your hotel room and you see some information about a county, you know that is meant for you. Now, here are the stats. Winds are 45 miles per hour. It's not moving very much officially from the National Hurricane Center. And notice the flare-up of color here on our satellite picture. So a lot of the thunderstorms and the heaviest rain on the south side of the storm, but we're still getting a few bands from time to time. Now, going forward over the next few days, you can see what the models are trying to lock in on. They all kind of get it in that general direction towards the South Carolina coast over the next few days. Exact placement, still, you know, a little bit of room for error there, but again, timing-wise, it looks like later on into the weekend that will be the case. But it's kind of, you know, just a subtle detail there where it's going to be. The long-term impacts continue to be the winds and the rough surf. There you have the official path somewhere between Charleston and Wrightsville. We already have the tropical storm watches posted from the Outer Banks down to Charleston, especially for along the coast. And you can see the winds here as that low continues to drive those northerly winds. So that rip current risk, yes, it's been in place over the last few days.